Welcome back to Ocala Talk on a Monday. In studio now from Just Shipped is Susan Schmidt. Susan, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, my love.
So let's talk about Friday. You were visibly shaken with the rain Friday.
Well, it was very dangerous out there.
There was a running river on Pine right at 200. It looked like a flowing river.
Right, and we called it a day, we closed early for the safety, of ourselves.
To get the drivers off the roads.
Get the drivers off the
i.e.
roads. Well, yes, but if I had other drivers, which hopefully I will again someday, I would have done the same thing.
You actually lost pieces of your car in the floodwaters.
I lost pieces of my car. Yes, I did. And, you have to think people over profits. It was very dangerous. In some instances, like cars were hydroplaning that were bigger than my smart car. And then you have these mentally challenged people who are speeding through this.
Throwing up these big
waves. And like it's nobody's business. I'm like, what is going on? And I called you and I'm like, I'm headed to the house.
And I didn't help you any.
No.
I go, honey, relax. You're overreacting. But I didn't know what was happening out on Pine where you were driving around and everything.
Right.
I was just on North Magnolia. And while it was flooding on North Magnolia, it was not to the point where there was an open river flowing.
It was.
I saw the video Tom James made. There was a river of water flowing down Pine right there by 200 or 10th Street, whatever you want to call it. It was a mess. And I'm watching this video, and here comes a big four-wheel drive truck. It must have been doing 40 miles an hour. Threw up a wave that just enveloped one car. Just the car disappeared in the wall of water. And I'm going, that's not safe.
It's not. And like I said, I just made the decision, it's time to go to the house and be safe, including yourself. I'm like, honey, just close the shop early. It's get to safety. And you did. You closed about a half hour early, 40 minutes, and so that you could be safe with me.
And Thursday was a different type of storm. Thursday it didn't rain. It didn't flood as much Thursday. But the winds and all destroyed trees, power lines. And
yes.
You were driving down 63rd, and there was a power pole across the road. You had to turn around and go back.
I had to do a different route, yeah.
Power pole in the road.
But, let's say a big thank you to our linemen who, we had our power up by 11:30.
Some people didn't get their power back till Saturday, but that's not for the lack of
effort.
All the energy companies trying to put it back. It just with trees and debris and everything, sometimes it takes longer.
Right, and they had to go do all that in the bad weather.
Yeah.
So, thank you, linemen, for keeping us in electricity.
And nobody seriously hurt or anything during these storms.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the thing. I have a very good friend of mine, my mentor, as a matter of fact, Buddy Martin, who lost his carport.
Yes. But it could have been worse.
Could have been worse because the tree fell towards the carport.
And not the house.
If the tree falls, instead of the tree falling, towards the carport, if it fell 45 degrees to the right, it went through the living room and the TV room.
Where they could have been sitting.
Buddy always sits in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he holds court. Could have been much worse. But, and that was just a normal Florida storm.
Well, when I saw the water on Friday gushing up through the sewer lids in the middle of the road,
I'm like, that's not normal.
I'm like,
that's not normal.
I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah. But that area floods bad anyway. It always has. But 40 used to flood the worst, right in front of the golf course and where O'Callahan's is and Locos and all. Right in that area, those lanes of traffic the road would be blocked 2, 3 days. If it rained like it rained Friday 15 years ago, 40 would probably open this morning.
Right.
They'd have run sump pumps in and everything. It would have been ridiculous because 40 would have, from about McDonald's to Locos, would have just been a lake.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've since, if you look, the medians have since been shaped into like retention ponds.
Right.
They're big drains in the medians and everything. They putting pipes under there and everything. The golf course is also, when they reconfigured the golf course and renovated it in 2008, 2009, I think, around that time, it was taken into account that they needed to make it a flood help too, so that water would drain onto the golf course instead of out into the streets and everything. So it's improved markedly.
Right.
But it used to be, if we'd had a rain like we had Friday afternoon, you would everything from McDonald's down to Locos would have been closed on both sides of the road because it would have been a big lake. I mean, the whole place would have been a lake. The service road, the median, the 2 lanes of traffic, the parking lot at the golf course, it would have all been a lake.
Well, it's good that they're looking, the city or county, whoever's responsible for it, looking at those opportunities and fixing them when they find them.
Yeah, it used to be bad on 40. I mean, people that have lived here forever know 40 used to be impassable during it. And it could be a heavy rainstorm, like a rainstorm. When we get 2-3 inches of rain in an hour, 40'd close for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, there were parts where, like I said, I was happy, to get home safely. Thursday we didn't have power, but Friday we did. Big shout out to Terry's Place for feeding us Thursday.
Yeah.
They still had power.
Yeah.
And
it's funny how that power thing works too. Because leading up to Siler Farm, right near where we lived, the Siler Farm and everything, they had power, and then you turned onto the road that's where our subdivision's at, no power.
Right.
Literally power half a mile from us, but no power where we are. But then you go down to Northeast Jacksonville Road and go up to 49th. They didn't have power all the way up to 49th on Northeast Jacksonville Road, which is like 6 miles from where we live, 4 miles from where we live.
Right.
So that power thing, but the guys did a great job. Guys and the men and women of the utilities departments did a great job addressing the situation, keeping everybody calm, getting out there to linemen, getting out there and fixing the issues. So kudos to the city of Ocala's utilities, Marion County's utilities, Duke Energy's utilities, Clay Electric's utilities, Seco's utilities, Sumter, all of them. They did a great job in those storms. It popped up. Nobody knew it was going to be that intense.
Yeah, it was.
Just the sea breezes battling. You got some time to stick around?
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. I want to get Susan's take. Last time I checked, she was a woman. So she probably has a unique perspective on what happened out of the Supreme Court. We'll talk to her about that next on Ocala Talks. Plus, we'll take your calls. 352-622-9622 is the number to call. 352-622-9622 is the number to call. We'll be back at this time out on WOCA, The Source.
Howdy, folks. RL here for Dairy Queen again to tell you about what's hot and what's not. Dairy Queen has some of the best char-grilled chicken breasts on earth, as well as their chicken breast salad. And the burgers are exceptional, cooked on a real grill for the best flavor and less fat. And for dessert, blizzards are unequaled. Personally, banana split is my all-time favorite. Dairy Queen Silver Springs, where we always treat you like kings and queens.
Good credits, bad credits, it's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer.
Supreme Court and the Constitution over their Roe v. Wade responsibility handoff to the states. Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat from Massachusetts, on ABC News.
They have burned whatever legitimacy they may still have had after their gun decision, after their voting decision, after their union decision. They just took the last of it and set a torch to it.
Russia is set to default on its foreign currency sovereign debt after bondholders reported the Kremlin missed 2 payments late Sunday. This is Russia's first foreign debt default since 1918. More than 4 months after she was arrested at a Moscow airport for cannabis possession, American basketball star Brittany Griner is to appear in court Monday for a preliminary hearing ahead of her trial in Russia. We are USA Radio News.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. chance to buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-9336. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-9336. 800-444-9336.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
The climate and agricultural resilience, that's coming up on This Land of Ours.
They say farming isn't a career, it's a way of life. While the work is rewarding, the daily stresses can be both physically and emotionally demanding. Sadly, 50% of farmers say it's difficult to access therapy or counseling in their community. Our 24-hour helpline changes that. Call 211 or text FARM-FL to 898-211. You don't have to deal with stress or anxiety alone. Learn more at 211.org.
Make plans to attend the Southern Peanut Growers Conference set for July 21 through 23rd in Panama City Beach, Florida. The event educates farmers about peanut production, legislative issues, marketing, and promotions. Visit southernpeanutfarmers.org for more information.
The House Agriculture Committee recently held a hearing titled The Role of Climate Research in Agricultural Resiliency. In his opening statement, Chairman Representative David Scott of Georgia gave his thoughts on the importance of the topic.
Climate change poses a threat to our ranchers, our foresters, and the production of our food, of our fuel, of our fiber. That means our food, our clothing, our shelter, and more, our fuel.
He also explained why he feels research is important.
So make no mistake about it. Changing weather patterns and increased natural disasters have and will continue to impact our food and agriculture system, and particularly our supply chains. And that is why research is so important.
This week, we'll hear from several experts who testified at the hearing. I'm Sabrina Halverson for the Southeast AgNet.
Unbeatable prices and events are popping up everywhere at Rural King, like an antique steel fire pit for just $49.98, or your choice of 27-foot tie-down ratchet straps, just $7.99 a piece. And don't miss taking a spin on the baddest mowers at our Lawn Mower Rodeo, Saturday, June 18th from 10 till 2. Must be 16 or older to ride. Shop now at ruralking.com or your neighborhood Rural King, America's farm and home store.
When it really counts, depend on The Source for the latest weather updates, keeping you ahead of the storm. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
We'll have clouds and sunshine today with a stray thunderstorm this afternoon. High today 88 to 90. Then partly cloudy skies this evening. Low tonight 71 to 75. Tuesday will be partly sunny with an afternoon and evening thunderstorm in spots. High 88 to 90. Then sunny to partly cloudy Wednesday. Thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon. And a high of 89 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
Blockers Furniture is having their huge Independence Day 4th of July sale. We're talking an 80,000 square foot showroom full of savings. Beautiful sectional starting as low as $19 per month. Check out the Dunwell Power Headrest Sofa with savings up to $200. You can save up to $600 on select queen storage bed with dresser and mirror sets. And right now during Blockers Furniture Independence Day 4th of July sale, mattresses start at just $3.99. And all outdoor furniture and accessories 25% off. Blockers Furniture, 2402 Southwest College Road, Ocala. See store for complete offer details.
This hour of Ocala Talks is brought to you in part by Blockers Furniture. Go see all their specials at blockersfurniture.com.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. Susan Schmidt from Just Ship is sitting in with us for another segment. So you've heard it all weekend. Roe versus Wade is no more. Although some states still have abortion, some don't. I just guess the federal government's no longer involved. But we've heard men all weekend, men, all these, talking heads and everything. I want to get a woman's perspective on this.
And ironically, I usually like to keep my opinions privately. But
You do.
But,
and, you can say, hey, I think this is a private thing between a woman and her doctor, and leave it alone, government. That's fine, too. So I don't, for religious beliefs, I believe that every life deserves to be saved, but I also don't carry a baby for 9 months. And, fathers aren't under the, mothers have to, if a father's a deadbeat dad, mothers still have to raise the babies and everything.
It's just a lot more complicated than just this law. I mean, the topic itself is a lot more complicated. First of all, I don't think women just arbitrarily, willy-nilly do this procedure.
Yeah, it's not people that say it shouldn't be used as contraception. I don't think there's a whole lot of women going, if I just get pregnant, I'll go through an abortion. It'll be fine.
But then I also think that other services should be expanded. Like, I knew I didn't want to have children.
Yes.
And when I was 36 or 38, I was in my late 30s, I decided to get, quote unquote, fixed so that opportunity would never present itself. And I had to pay for it. My insurance wouldn't pay for it. And it was $2,000.
Right. A lot of people can't afford $2,000.
And that was just the procedure. That wasn't the added doctor's visits. The insurance paid some of those and all that. Don't get me wrong, but the bulk of it back then, and how long ago was that? That was 12, 13, 15 years ago. And but I made that decision. I knew I didn't want children, and I didn't want a whoops and put me into that decision-making process.
Right.
Same thing with you. You didn't want to have children.
I knew that. I knew that at like 18, 19 years old.
And I'm a firm believer that once you made that decision and you were committed to it, I think you should have gotten snipped. That is just one of my beliefs.
I understand. I can understand that
just
situation.
So that situation wouldn't happen to you. Now, luckily, that didn't happen to you.
I know what causes it.
Yes.
I know how you can avoid it without being snipped. There's
right.
all kind of, but your point's well taken.
There could be other services provided so that people that really don't want to have it, they can have alternative.
There are other choices.
There's other choices, yes.
There are other ways of contraception. So you're not faced with the unenviable decision of having to end a life or not end a life.
Correct. And then you have that whole other topic of what about the father's rights?
Well, that's where I get involved is can a dad, if a dad wants to, can he say, I don't want a child. You knew I didn't want a child. So I give up all my parental rights and everything, and that means that all the financial rights and all get given up too. People would be outraged. How dare you deadbeat dad?
But the woman, the husband has, or the father has no rights into whether they keep the child or not. What if the dad said, "Hey, you know what? I'll raise him. I'll take you. No responsibility.
My mom and I will raise this kid, or however. But I want the baby." The dad doesn't have that choice.
No, but and he's really caught in between. So if the woman has it, he's responsible now, a deadbeat dad, if he can't afford it. If he wants it, he doesn't have that choice. Like I said, it's a super complicated situation.
It is a very complicated
And the
situation.
only thing that happened with Roe v. Wade was the government saying, well, wait a minute, we should not have been involved in this.
The Supreme Court said that the decision made law, and that's not what the Supreme Court's supposed to do, not make law. And so they struck it down and said the laws should be made by legislators in the individual states.
Yeah, and
the Supreme Court ruled that that the Supreme Court in 1973 had overstepped its bounds.
Right.
So they were really calling their former colleagues or their predecessors to the carpet saying, you overstepped in 1973. You went beyond what the court's duties were in 1973. Now, that's also up for interpretation, depending on what side of the aisle you come down on.
And the poor, and the justices that looked at this, and I hear on the news, like Trump's justices. Well, wait a minute. They have to be approved by Congress. And who votes for Congress?
Yeah, we do.
And that's both. That they're both Democrat and they're both Republican. Like,
but they're going to tell you now. Well, they lied to us. They said they wouldn't overturn Roe versus Wade.
That's not what they said.
If they'd have been honest with us that they thought Roe versus Wade should be overturned, we'd have never voted for them.
They never specifically called out that particular piece of legislation.
They did not.
And all of the justices have to decide on what they're going to listen to, what they're going to hear. So,
yeah, they do get to pick and choose what they listen to. So, I think the statement you made when you first started this conversation is one of the best statements I've heard anybody make. It's a much bigger and more complicated issue than just whether the Supreme Court got it right or not.
Right. It is so much larger.
Where I do agree with the left in their stance is that there should be provisions that if a mother's life's in danger, if it's a health issue or something, or in cases of rape and incest, why keep compounding the tragedy on the... And I know people are going to say, but Tom, a human life's a human life. When a victim is raped, if you then tell that victim they have to have the child. Now, a victim can make the decision to have the child, but if you tell that woman you have to have that child that you were given because you were violently raped by an animal, then you're just prolonging the tragedy of the rape. There could be ill feelings towards that child. There's all kinds of problems.
All kinds of problems. And I would like to, and let me say this carefully. When people say that they are pro-choice, it does not mean they are pro-abortion. They are pro somebody making a decision for themselves. So I think that gets a little muddled as well. I am pro you deciding what's best for you.
Well, somebody say, but who decides for the child? The argument is it's not a child until it's viable. Well, when does viability happen? At conception or first heartbeat or when you distinguish 10 fingers, 10 toes? And that's the gray area that people get hung up in. But here's my issue with the left in their pro-choice stance. What is their moniker? When they say pro-choice, what do they say? My
body, my choice.
That's what they say.
But they didn't give us that
my
choice.
Body, my choice.
When they wanted to jab us.
This is the same group of people that were telling the right, how dare you not want to get the COVID vaccine? The masses need the COVID vaccine because you're killing us. How dare you do that? But then when you talk about that's my body, it should be my choice, but they weren't. No, it shouldn't. Get the shot or else.
Oh, and what about the women are going back in time and having less rights? Well, can I ask you who's fighting for Title IX? Can I ask you that?
Women.
Where are they?
They are.
Where are the left that are now screaming for women's rights, not screaming for Title IX that we had to fight for to get, so that women
can play sports,
so that we can play sports just like men.
And it wasn't equal sports. It was so that universities, public schools, and all would offer the same amount of sports for women,
right?
That they had offered the men.
Yes,
because they would have 20 different sports for men to participate in, and it'd have
one
field hockey for women. That was it.
So
Billie Jean King, huge. She fought hard for Title IX. The women of the 70s, the athletes of the 70s fought hard for Title IX. And you're right. These are the same people that are now fighting for transgender rights. Well, transgender, most of them take over women's sports. Hello, where are the women's rights people now?
Yeah, I mean it's very complicated.
It's not just black and white like they would like you to think it is.
It's not. But I firmly believe that there should be other services, like if you're going to have a Planned Parenthood, that Planned Parenthood
offer-
should also provide for sterilization of a man or a woman if they choose it.
Because it's Planned Parenthood.
Because that's planning it. Yeah,
Right.
that's planning not to have it.
Right. Look, some of the things Planned Parenthood does in the way that they teach classes about, the rate of pregnancy. The only thing that Planned Parenthood, I had no problem with Planned Parenthood offering abortions. I just had problem with my tax money going to subsidize Planned Parenthood as they were doing the abortions. That's all I've never said if you could afford the medical procedure and you wouldn't, or if a private nonprofit had the money so that would be offered for free and all, just don't use my tax dollars. But remember, I'm also the guy that don't want you to use my tax dollars to put monuments up. I want you to use tax dollars to keep me safe and build my roads. That's what I want.
That's it.
That's what I want. Keep me safe, foreign policy, make sure we got good military and everything so nobody can invade us, and make my roads functional. Everything else, my tax dollars shouldn't go to that. Anything else? Oh, what about the Washington Monument? Keep up with the Washington Monument. Nope. Some group should keep the Washington Monument up, not the United States government. What about the Statue of Liberty? Nope. Should be a private entity that does that. No tax dollars from New Yorkers should go to help the statue. That's just how I believe. I had the group called the Bridges Project that came in with a very worthwhile desire. They wanted to put a remembrance monument up to remember the people who did not get due process of justice and were lynched before they had the day in court in Marion County in the 20s and 30s. They could show documentation of 32 times that happened with proof and everything. They wanted to put a monument up that memorialized these people. I said, I support that 100%. I'll help you raise money. I'll help you try to find a piece of land, everything. Guy goes, no. I want the county to give us the land and the county to pay for it. I go,
no.
No. And I literally said, so I just offered to do all this for you, to help you with this, and you're turning it down? Yes, because we want the county to have to pay for it. Now you're just looking for a handout. So I got a problem. And then the one lady, her famous line was, well, I guess you're okay with the Confederate statues. I go, no. If my tax dollars pay for those, I ain't fond of them either. I'm an equal opportunist. If you use my tax dollars to do any of that, I'm against it. That's why there are 501(c)(3)s in the world. That's why you have nonprofits. That's why you have foundations. You think that the Greg Graham Foundation, with all the work it does, is going to the city saying, give me a handout?
No, there's tons of fundraisers around the community.
Yeah.
Tons.
You think April Savarese, who runs the Boys and Girls Clubs, get to go to the city and the county and go, give me money?
No.
Give me tax dollars.
Tons of fundraisers to keep those programs going.
It's just the fact that people think that they can just go get tax dollars to do anything drives me nuts. Yeah. So when Planned Parenthood wanted U.S. tax dollars, no. What you're doing is perfectly, I understand the whole Planned Parenthood process, what they're trying to get across, what they're trying to accomplish, the well-being and the healthy of women. I get all that. But don't use my tax dollars for it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, like I said, it is just a very complex decision.
There's a lot of layers to the onion.
There are. But I respect people's privacy and their right to privacy.
And that's a whole different issue that I don't think anybody's keying in on.
And
that how dare I get to tell a woman what she can or can't do in the privacy of her own decisions? Or she can tell me what I can or can't do. Do you have a right to privacy? That is in the Constitution.
Right. That is between me, my doctor. But however, I'll just say it one more time. At some point, I firmly believe this, at some point, the father should have some sort of right. I mean, it takes two to tango.
Unless you go to an artificial insemination clinic, there's got to be two of you involved.
There's two of you involved. And if we as a society is okay calling a father a deadbeat dad because he can't support his child that was unplanned, but we don't call the women deadbeat moms for making choices. Like it has to be. Let's level
It's an even playing field.
Let's level the playing field, okay? And I hate saying it like that, but
You just set women back 50 years.
I did not. I took control of my.
You made a decision about your body.
About my body. I talked to my doctor about it, and I even threatened him a little bit. I go, look, if I get pregnant after this procedure, guess who's paying me some child support? You. So make sure you get it right.
Yeah. So.
Like
there's a lot more to it.
There's a lot of layers, and
than just the Supreme Court saying it wasn't ours to deal with in the first place.
But I respect privacy, and I think women should have that ability to make decisions on their body.
Yes, and see, that's where women will tell you. That's why the dads don't get a decision in it, because the dad's body, after the initial act, the dad's body doesn't go through any more trauma. It's done after the act.
But I can't tell you how many fathers I know stay in relationships for their kids, and how many women I know use their children against the dad. Like,
happens all the time.
I do not have one example of a man saying, "Well, you'll never see your kids again." Like, of somebody that I know personally, but I know probably a dozen women I could say that about, and it's not right. Like, it's not right.
I know some wealthy men that have said that because they were like, I got enough money, I'll keep your kids from you forever.
But you have
that.
Right. You have that. And yeah. I'm sure it goes both ways. But I also, there's just, I am sure there's been a lot of dads that lost their children through this decision that would have loved to have had the child.
But this goes back to what the originally this was, is this is not a singular decision.
It's not.
The media and everybody's trying to make it a singular decision, but there's so much more that goes into this because the onion has a lot of layers, like you said.
It is very complicated, and it's just not one. And I'm sorry that women feel this way. I'm sorry communities are feeling like something's been taken away from them. And I think you're doing, but take the fight to where it needs to, which is your state Congress,
your legislatures,
your
your
representatives.
Yep.
And invoke change. Like we're always looking for, our rights to be protected.
Let's go to the phone lines real quick. Good morning. You're on Ocala Talks.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Sonny.
I personally believe that Roe versus Wade should never have been passed at all.
Right.
Because where in the Constitution does it say a woman is entitled to abortion or whatever?
Well, what the court said in the decision, what the court said in its decision is the 1973 court overstepped its bounds because it didn't have any legal standing because it's not prescribed in the Constitution that right is given. That's a state right. Any right that's not given in the Constitution then reverts back to the states to make the decision. That's all the court said. The court just said.
That's where it belongs.
The court said in 1973 the Supreme Court overstepped its bounds.
The Planned Parenthood. What does Planned Parenthood do in Washington, D.C.?
They lobby.
That's it.
Using my tax dollars, and I don't like that.
That's why I say, where is it in the Constitution that you got to have Planned Parenthood? It's not mentioned anywhere.
Yeah, well, Sonny, it's not mentioned in the Constitution. You got to have the FAA either, but they do a good job.
Well, they didn't have airplanes in the back then, but I'm talking about stuff that affects everybody, not just pilots and passengers.
Well, but here, the Constitution does support a right to privacy. Does it not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so what a decision a woman makes with her doctor should not be open for anybody except the woman and doctor because of her privacy issue.
Right. None of that should be discussed. I mean, it's just that's the way it is. You should not be able to, if you even go to another state and you have an abortion and then you come back to your state, you should not face criminal charges because I have a right to privacy and I have a right to my medical Privacy.
Well, no, I didn't hear anything about that. The only thing I know is that it's not in the Constitution, and there shouldn't be offices in the federal government.
I agree with that 100%.
DC.
I agree. Thanks.
That's a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Just
as far
like
as I'm concerned.
just like the Department of Education at the national level is. Thanks for the call, Sonny.
Exactly.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Sonny.
Yeah, look, Sonny. I understand Sonny's point. He believes individual states, not the federal government, should. There's certain issues that it's not in the Constitution. It clearly states in the Constitution all the rights and abilities not described here are the responsibility of individual states to make the decision.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the decisions our federal government has made, and they're just
they don't have a great track record.
They don't have a great track record. And if you are sitting out there and you believe in smaller government, this is a step to smaller government. And putting the voter back in control at a state level.
Yeah, it's all. Somebody says that it's a state rights issue. Well, it is. It is. It most definitely is a state rights issue, in my opinion. So, just how I look at it. And some states will say abortion are okay. Some will say it's not okay.
Right.
What I don't want to see is I think that you should not. Like the Missouri governor talked about, and the South Dakota governor both talked about that they're going to look to enact legislation that if you live in their state and you leave to go to another state that offers abortion and you come back, that they can prosecute you back inside that state.
And that's where I come in and say, no, that's a
woman's. That's just idiotic.
It's idiotic. Number one. Number two, it's a woman's right to privacy. You do not have a right to my medical record. You have no rights to it.
You're telling me so by that rationale, Peyton Manning should be put in jail because stem cell injections were illegal in the United States. When he went to Germany 13, 14 years ago and got stem cell injections into his neck.
Right.
Which helped him continue his football career. But so you're telling me when he got back to Indianapolis where he was playing, that the state of Indiana should have locked him up because he violated Indiana state law because stem cell research?
Do you know how many Americans go to Mexico for medical treatment?
100%.
Like, are you going to lock all them up?
To get out one, to get a cheaper rate,
right,
and two, to bypass a lot of the FDA regulations.
Right. That happens all the time.
Every day people get on flights to go to Mexico, not for vacation, but for surgery. Every day people do that to go to. I have a friend of mine who's battling cancer right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's been to Germany 4 different times, getting treatments in Germany that aren't legal here.
Right.
And he's a decorated Marine that retired from the Marine Corps. You telling me that he's breaking the law? Because that's what these governors want to say about abortion. Would they be breaking the law if they went and had an abortion in another state where it was legal and then came back?
What about plastic surgery? I mean, the list goes on and on.
What happens if I was living in like Illinois, had an abortion, then moved to South Dakota? And does the governor find out I had an abortion and I get locked up in South Dakota?
I think it's ridiculous.
It's stupid.
It is ridiculous.
We'll take a break. We'll be back after this timeout. You're listening to Ocala Talks, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA. The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Democrats continue to attack the Supreme Court and the Constitution over their Roe v. Wade responsibility handoff to the states. Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat from Massachusetts, on ABC News.
They have burned whatever legitimacy they may still have had after their gun decision, after their voting decision, after their union decision. They just took the last of it and set a torch to it.
Russia is set to default on its foreign currency sovereign debt after bondholders reported the Kremlin missed 2 payments late Sunday. This is Russia's first foreign debt default since 1918. More than 4 months after she was arrested at a Moscow airport for cannabis possession, American basketball star Brittany Griner is to appear in court Monday for a preliminary hearing ahead of her trial in Russia. We are USA Radio News.
Did you know that you could easily be saving up to 90% on your taxes by simply making a phone call? That's right. The Fortune